Now, being up here on the 10th floor, it makes it a little challenging in many ways. And one of the ways is we usually cut all of our materials outside, like in someone's driveway or someone's sidewalk, in the garage, wherever we can find that's exterior. We don't cut many times in people's houses. As a matter of fact, we've only done it 3 times in the whole time I've been doing this for about 11 years. And this is the 3rd time. So we really try not to do that. Now, we'll do it if it's like a new construction. Obviously, it's not a finished surface or a finished interior. So we had to get creative here. You know, her sidewalk is all the way down there. So we're not gonna be, you know, making those cuts and coming back up and forth. It would just be a nightmare. It would take so long. But what we did do, and I really didn't want to do this, I had to cut all the pieces down to 8-foot lengths. So that means a ton of seams and stuff, but we know how to join the pieces together. I use CA glue, and you know, we're gonna make sure everything was good to go, but I really did not want to do that. I mentioned this in the last video, or one of the past videos, and someone was saying like you can lock out the elevator. I got an email from someone in there, and you can get on top of it and ride up, but this building is 100 years old and it's not quite that easy, and they're actually doing maintenance on the elevators right now. One other option we considered to get those pieces up here is that right there. That parking lot is the 7th floor parking garage, the parking roof, and her spot, the customer's spot, is right there. So I could have parked there, you know, we could have handed each other the boards. That was one of the original plans, and I was like, hey, let's do that. We could just pull them right up over this railing. But as soon as I got here and like looked up at it, I was like, no. So we were standing right down there looking up at this. This is 3 stories above that. Now you've got a lot of pedestrians that walk over here in this area, like right on that sidewalk. And I was just like, you know what? It gets windy up here. It's windy up here right now. If one of these pieces of molding just, you know, catches in the wind and goes over there and kills somebody, my gut was telling me this is a bad idea. So we cut everything to 8 foot. It is what it is, but that's just one of the challenges we had to face up here. I'll show you another. So here's the little entry right off the balcony, and you can see she's got some flooring selected because, like I said, this is a 100-year-old place and it needs some updating. So we're a part of that too. So check this out. This is my new miter saw dust collection. Actually, it's like a dust shroud. I don't know what you would call it. What do they call it? A dust solution. So this is the Rosso 5000L. Got this on Amazon, not sponsored in any way, but this was one thing that she was really worried about, is dust flying over everything. So we draped everything in plastic, you know, took care of all that. But still, the DeWALT miter saw, although it's known for being one of the best performing saws on the market, at least here in America, it is also known for being one of the dustiest miter saws. They're dust monsters. They just throw dust everywhere. My Makita just kills this thing on dust collection. I know the Festool kills this thing on dust collection. But yeah, it is what it is. This thing is our field miter saw. So the Makita stays in the shop. So one thing about this right here, I actually didn't even know this had a light, but when I opened up the box and I saw that LED strip, I was like, okay, that's kind of corny. Like, really, you're gonna have an LED strip? But the reason you need that, and the reason this actually works out really good, is because when you have this whole umbrella thing over your saw, it makes it really dark in here. So you kind of need the illumination to see your pencil marks and all that, to see where you're cutting down here. And you can see it lights it up pretty dang good. So I was happy to get the L. So I found this out later, the 5000. They have a 5000 and they have a 5000L. If you guys are gonna get one of these, again, not sponsored, but I do recommend the little cheesy light right here because it actually serves a really good purpose. And that just plugs in down here to my wheel. So don't judge me for not protecting the floor. She said don't worry about it because, like I showed you, they're getting new flooring. So let's look at this thing. And real quick before we look in there, actually, I do want to mention this is still hooked up to my DeWALT vacuum down there, that little shop vac. I have it running up through a hole in the dust solution cover. You can see that hole right there. Try to make this a little bit brighter. So that just comes up and then that goes into the back of the miter saw. Boom, right there, just how you normally would do it. So with that said, let's take a look at the dust that you see on the surfaces here around the saw. And I will say, I give the DeWALT a hard time, but it does do a somewhat decent job of dust collection. I would say it collects about 55–60% of dust, whereas like the Makita and the Festool, I would probably give those like closer to 90% of the dust. So just by comparison, it's not good. So you can see all this on the surface here, just your typical dust that doesn't get collected by the extraction. And then I've got dust on the floor where dust has been falling through that hole. And like I said, I already kind of swept that up. I've been here a few days, so I didn't want to leave a complete mess. But all along this shroud too, the camera's not really picking it up, but there's dust that kind of hits these walls and sticks to them, and then it falls down through that hole. So based off my observation of just looking at this, I can see a lot of dust on the inside of this shroud. All up inside here, there's just dust everywhere. And if I hit this, it kind of falls down to that hole down there. Now, I will say, this thing helped a lot. And we bought this specifically for this job. This is my first time ever using it, and I noticed a considerable amount of containment. So when I cut in people's garages, I really don't even like doing that, but when I do that, you know, they've got items in there, whether it's tools, you know, yard equipment, maybe even a vehicle, and at the end of a job, there is a ton of dust over all of those items. So I have to take my blower and blow everything off and clean it out really good. Now with this thing, I'll probably start bringing it to the job sites just to keep it all contained, where I can sweep it up, just vacuum it, and I don't have to blow all the customer stuff. So let's look right over here. This plastic sheeting right here that's covering this chair is in the direct line of fire, right? This thing would have been covered completely if I didn't have that shroud. Definitely 100%. But just looking at this, I mean, there is nothing coming off of it. So this thing definitely served its purpose for protecting everything. You know, I don't want to be here vacuuming all this stuff up and, you know, having dust all over all this plastic and trying to fold it up strategically. And that's the two-piece crown they were running around here. So yes, with all those challenges, I would say this thing definitely was worth it. Oh, I didn't even see this either. That's always a plus. So we got made in the USA. So another thing right here, if you look at this side view, when I first put this on, I was thinking, you know, this needs to be more forward to catch all this dust, because I had a lot of dust coming out. Not a lot, I guess, but I had some dust coming out right here, and you can see that all right there. You could probably mount this thing closer. I just have mine rigged up with these clamps. So I got these little quick clamps, and then I've got it squeezed onto the miter saw, like the body frame of the miter saw, and I've got the miter saw pinched right there on my cut hub stand. So even without this dust shroud, I still use these clamps to pinch my miter saw to that stand. You know, technically you're supposed to connect this to that plate, and I've tried that. It doesn't fit with my setup in my truck good, so I just bring these two clamps to every job, and it works just fine. So you can get creative. It's basically just adjustable with these wing nuts, and then it goes up here, and there's another little adjustment bracket where it connects to the shroud itself. So my work here is done as far as the install. So no more dust. I'm gonna go ahead and start taking this thing apart. I don't have my blower, and there's no reason to, because I can't blow all the dust away anyways. I'm gonna have to vacuum this up as best I can before we take it in the elevator and head down. Once I take this off, I really wanna see how much dust is contained in there. And down at the bottom, this is that dust port. This is a 4-inch port. Technically, you're probably supposed to connect to this, but I think that's more inefficient. So I just ran my vacuum hose straight to my sawdust collection versus, you know, letting it all fly and be sucked down from this whole shroud. I haven't tried that yet because I don't have that port. So will it work? I don't know, maybe it'll create enough suction and, you know, grab everything, but I highly doubt that, but I can definitely give it a shot when I get some more fittings. All right, so here's a good look at the back side of the saw. Haven't done any cleanup to this, and this is what we got. So pretty good, and then this is everything that fell out. Pretty decent amount. So you know, in theory, all of this would have been in this general area here. And even the really, really tiny dust, really fine dust would make its way everywhere. Trust me, it happens. It would be all over that countertop. It would be all over this desk area. It would just be all over the place, which has not seemed to have been the case. Like, I've been looking around every day when we leave here. This is our third day, and there's no dust anywhere. So pretty cool. You know, I know when I like brag on a product like this, people are gonna say, oh, he's paid to, like, literally, I don't even know this company. This is my first tool ever from them. I get nothing. It makes no difference to me if you buy this or don't buy it. I'm just sharing my experience. The thing works. Well, check that out. We're getting some blue sky. Things are clearing up a little bit. You know, despite the challenges of working up here and everything we had to go through to kind of get our tools up here and cut everything down to 8 foot and the dust stuff and all that, this really makes it worth it. You look out the window, and it's not every day as a trim guy you get to see this when you look out. So I definitely appreciate it. And her unit, or suite, whatever you want to call it, goes all along this west facing building. So there's even more of a view of the north side of town over there, the northwest, I guess I should say. So if you're local, you probably have a good idea of where I am, but just for reference, that highway right there is I-30, way off in the distance, and that is west. Camera is facing south right now, and then those cars over there headed that way are going east in the direction of Dallas. So with that, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this one up right here. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. There's still challenges to overcome here because I gotta get all those tools back down. I've got a 30-minute parking limit over here to load everything up. I could go right there easily, but they said no contractors in the residence area, so that's considered like a resident parking. So I got to go over here, pay, and do all that. That's fun, but hey, it actually is fun for a change to kind of be in this environment. And I already told, like, the neighbors have heard us in here cutting and stuff, obviously, and they want to do some work too. So I'll do it, you know? I'll get really good at seams, joining pieces together. So anyways, guys, I will catch you on the next one.